afternoon, everyone. My name is Hussam Awad, Senior Lecturer in Architecture and Urban Planning. Welcome to Dundee. Welcome to our big event on place, culture, design, and placemaking. Before I start and hand on to the dean of our school, I would like to say one little thing. Without the support and support from our collaborator, Academy of Urbanism, and even the university, but also our sponsor, this event wouldn't happen. Interestingly, I only opened the call of this event 3 weeks ago. And seriously, my expectation to receive 60, 70 people maximum. And it has happened that this event happened in parallel with the bidding from our city, Dundee, for the new culture, how can I say, European City of Culture 2023. And just up to today, I received about 190 registrations. I'm not saying all of them they are in the room, but at least here I could see at least there are 140. Absolutely across all sectors in Scotland, actually. I'm having students from architecture, planning, design, urban design, urban design, but also I am having, how can I say, experts, street experts, health, well-being, culture, local authorities, policymakers. So I don't know what is next. And don't ask me what is next, because each time we have an event, people asking me what is next, I really don't know what is next. You have to tell me by the end of this day what is next. Now I will leave it now to Professor John Rowan, the dean of our school, to say something about the event. Thank you.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Classically, you should never follow someone who's giving an introduction, because Susanne's probably stolen all the things I was going to say to you. I just really wanted to welcome you all to the Scottish University of the Year for 2017. It's been a big year for the University of Dundee, and we've managed to do so well that we've retained that trophy. So, Scottish University of the Year 2016 and 2017. And I'm really delighted to welcome you to this important event on design, culture and placemaking. So as Suzanne said, I'm getting a little bit of feedback, maybe I'm standing too close to you. I'm really delighted to welcome you here. I'm John Rowan, the Dean of Social Sciences, within which architecture and urban planning sits. I'm going to switch that off for Sam. Okay. I think the importance of the subject and the reputation for the events that's been established by the Academy of Urbanism and by Hussam, by colleagues working together in this space, is that, as Hussam said, with only a few weeks' notice, there's been a very large audience has been attracted to the university, and just coming in tonight, I spoke to members of the audience saying that they really welcome these talks, they enjoy coming to be part of this community, and one of the things that we hope is, as well as the formal presentations, there's time around these formal presentations where people can talk together. So just to, in case I forget to say at the end, be aware that we have a small drinks reception at the end of this event, and you're very welcome to stay and share some ideas and discuss with colleagues. I think we have in the room colleagues which have travelled relatively near and far. I think that's exemplified by our two speakers tonight, Stuart Murdoch from the city and Stephen Willisey from Aarhus in Denmark, both leading practitioners in their respective cities, and I think the comparison between ourselves and Denmark is a very, very timely and exciting one. I think we also, as Hussam mentioned, have a tremendous diversity of delegates spanning multiple disciplines and interests, from practicing architects and planning, health and well-being professionals, street and cultural event experts, policymakers from local authority and from central government within Scotland. And it's wonderful to see so many colleagues from across the university, and particularly our students who are, of course, the next generation, for whom these ideas of design, culture and placemaking will have the greatest resonance. So the subject of our event tonight, design, culture and placemaking, could not be more appropriately located, I think, within the City of Discovery. Indeed, we are now the UK's only city of design, UNESCO City of Design. And we hope for those of you who are new to the city, you've had a chance to have a look around and see this £1 billion waterfront redevelopment that's taking place with its showpiece V&A Museum at the very heart. And this idea of placemaking, of designing, about the importance of culture to lead economic revitalisation and kind of cultural identity are some really important issues that I think we can usefully discuss tonight. So, desperate not to steal anybody's thunder, I really wish to only welcome our speakers to the university, welcome you as our audience here tonight. We very much hope you enjoy the programme. We very much hope that this is an opportunity for a lively discussion. You know, we're off the meter. It's after 5 o'clock, so I mean it's unusual to have these evening events, but actually it gives us a bit of time to spend together, some quality time to try and push forward some new ideas. So I wanted to close in thanking you for your attendance. Particularly wanted to thank Hussam and Kevin and their colleagues for hosting us tonight, and we really hope we have a wonderful evening together. So thanks very much, everybody.
The Director of Academy of Urbanism, Kevin Murray, just would like to say a little more and then introducing our speakers.
Thanks, Hussam. If I can start by saying thanks to Dundee for hosting this. This is maybe the 6th event that the Academy has shared with Dundee, and we've done other events in the Scottish Parliament and Glasgow School of Art, so we're delighted to have the long-standing collaboration here. What I want to flag up first of all, for those who are tweeting, those are the hashtag elements, AOU, Aarhus and the AOU. We have had a number of events that have been very successful just in the last few months. We had a trip to the Borders on the railway. There was a drawing trip on the new Borders Railway. We had the major event in this room, Streets Beyond Streets, which you will be getting shortly as an available report, but also I think the videos are online now, so that the record of that is up on the Academy website. Also, we had, just last month I think it was, at Glasgow School of Art, a Young Urbanists event, and that also linked to the book launch. If you haven't seen the details of our book, we've got a new book out on urbanism. The details I think are also in the magazine and journal, which you may have just picked up. Coming up this year, in the next window of a few days, but if you're interested, are awards nominations, and they can come from anyone. We have awards for city, town, neighbourhood, street, and place. And place can be anything from a park to a harbour to a major public space. So nominations for those close on the 31st of March, so if you've got any suggestions, we'll be looking forward to receiving those. Before I go further in introducing the speakers for tonight, I just want to flag up a couple of other major events on the horizon of the Academy. Because the Academy, for those of you who don't know it, is only coming up to 11 years old. It's gone from 100 people to something like 1,000, including academicians and young urbanists. And we've got a major event on new cities. It's not something we've done a lot of, so we've got a major event celebrating the 50th anniversary of the founding of Milton Keynes. Those of you who are interested in new places, and that will be at the end of June. And we're also looking to have in the summer, and we're not going to have it in exactly the same time frame, but we will be back in Dundee to have a neighbourhood summit, bringing our finalists from the different neighbourhoods across Scotland to Dundee. We'll probably be in this building, but we will also have a visit to Broughty Ferry, one of our finalists from a couple of years back. The big event which tonight leads us towards is our annual Congress. Now, this will be our 12th annual Congress. The first one was in Copenhagen. I know I'm not allowed to say that word, but it was in Copenhagen where we piggybacked another event. We've had those all around the country and in Ireland since. Our first major international Congress will be in Aarhus. And it's going to be absolutely fantastic, as you will appreciate when you hear Stephen's presentation. So if you're interested in this theme of placemaking, particularly of contemporary placemaking, and the new culture of urbanism that's emerging, please come. The dates are the 14th to the 17th of September, and there are flights to Copenhagen from Edinburgh and directly to Aarhus from Stansted. And Piggybacking onto the end of that, there is a study trip to Copenhagen, but I know I'm not really meant to talk about that. So really, tonight, to introduce our speakers, as you've heard, we've got Stuart Murdoch and Stephen Willesee, both of whom are working in leading-edge practice within their own cities. Stuart, who hailed historically from Glasgow when it was City of Culture, has been working in culturally led and culturally oriented regeneration in Dundee, I think you said for about 27 years now. And this is a big phase in the city's regeneration and development. So to set this up and lead us into the Orphan's presentation, we're going to be appraised of where Dundee is at and what the story is all about. So please give a warm welcome to Stuart Murdoch.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Thank you very much. You would hardly look at me, you'd hardly believe I've been here 27 years, would you? And you'd hardly believe that I left Glasgow in the middle of the European Year of Culture, and I'd worked for about 4 or 5 years to actually get it there. And I've never been forgiven for that, so I can't go back to Glasgow and get pilloried for leaving it for another year. And I do love Glasgow. So I know you're really here to hear Stephen talk about Argus, but I'm going to set a bit of the context, and for people who are not familiar currently with where we are with the waterfront, I'm really going to talk more specifically about cultural placemaking. So I'm going to zip past that. And I thought I would just, if this keeps going for me, let me try that one there. Try that one there. Yeah, that's good. And can you help me with kicking on that, the building V&A one? Can I push down on that one there? Yeah, the second one. What I wanted to show you was the most recent, and I know some people here will have seen this, my apologies if you have, the most recent piece of
What excites me in particular about the V&A Museum of Design is the way that cutting-edge contemporary architecture is being fully embraced by the whole of the city and by the whole of the country. It is a completely unique building. I don't think we would have been able to build this building 10 years ago, given the nature of its design and the technology and the preciseness of the engineering that's required to achieve it.
Whereas your average building is a very traditional frame, very simple, straightforward. The design of this has required engineering, sculptural techniques that are traditional in that it's concrete and it's formwork, but to actually build that structure in its temporary state requires very, very creative engineering.
We've got 20 different elevations and external facade walls, and this is wall 14. This is one of the most extreme. This is our first delivery of precast planks that will be going on this sample panel. So each plank follows the curvature of the wall as well, so each plank's unique. So as you're walking into the new V&A, you'll see all this concrete stepping in and out of the walls.
One of the things that we needed to do, because the building is really ambitious, it stretches out into the river, we needed to construct a dam that allowed us to drain out the sea and excavate down to create that part of the building. And then eventually all of this gets stripped away, and where we're standing, the sea will return right up to the front of the building.
You can really start to see what it's going to be like when it's finished, and how complex it is.
The external walls that you see the red and yellow formwork, all of that formwork actually holds up the structure until all the floors are in place and the roof's in place. And once the roof's in place, the structure itself takes over. Following on from that, the precast panel planks that are going to be positioned on the external elevations will start to appear, and people then will see through 2017 the design concept come to life.
The beauty of the cliff is coming from the long dialogue between earth and water. I want to translate that kind of the beauty to contemporary building. It's very different from concrete box, very different from the 20th century's museum. The inclination of the facade can give a different type of experience. If it is too vertical, the vertical void rejects the people. The building should invite people to waterfront.
I've been involved as an architect, a designer and a project manager for 30 years in delivering building projects, and this is without doubt the pinnacle of those 30 years. Working with the client groups and living in Dundee and sensing the excitement and engagement of the public with the building as it comes out of the ground is also very exciting.
I never ever thought I'd get the opportunity to work on that type of building. The complexities of it drive us every day to stretch our imaginations. It's just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Most architects in 20th century thought about their own building, how to create beautiful objects. This is not an independent building. It is a part of the big, ambitious urban design and can change the community. So I'm very happy to work for that kind of project.
I don't know how many of you have seen that before, but it is inspirational, isn't it? And seeing it from the drones, the kind of aerial footage of that building. And actually speaking to the guys on site is a real privilege. And if you ever get a chance to do that, and I've been lucky enough as one of the city directors and the management of this project to be on site and speak to them. You talk about young guys, 25, 26, 28-year-olds, who are working at the cutting edge of concrete technology, and who know that, and who are doing the whole thing on CAD, moving it, because every floor plate, every time you go up a millimetre on that building, because the curves will throw the wall, it's a different floor plate. So it's not a building that you can actually trap on analog. It has to be CAD, and it has to be represented that way. So it's totemic, and it's probably the best example we've got in Dundee of cultural placemaking. But what I wanted to reflect on, and I'll try and zoom you through it, is that we invest hugely in the city centre, and most of our citizens don't live in the city centre. So most of our cultural investment in cultural place is some distance from where most of our citizens, and particularly our poorest citizens, live. And I think it's an enduring challenge for Dundee, and I'm really looking forward to hearing how Aarhus confronts that, because we're not alone in this. We tend to, in urbanism, centralise our investment because we have to. And that leaves a challenge for those who are either physically or culturally remote from the investment in a project like this or waterfront. So what I thought I would do is just take you backwards in time. So if you go backwards from where we were today, I wanted to put this photograph to the proud, because again, I've had the privilege of being on that site, and it's a restricted area. But when you're at the front of the DNA, the bit that will be out in the water, in about 6 months' time, the only time you'll be able to see this image of the prow is from a boat. It's absolutely spectacular to be down there, as is the cathedral form of the building. It's a remarkable building by any account. And as Kengo said, and as Mike Galloway said, it's part of this comprehensive waterfront project. And I guess most people here know the kind of sums of money, eye-watering sums of money. We're about halfway through what's referred to as £1 billion, 30-year multi-phase regeneration project. And there's just not the time to talk about it tonight. But the bit that I think many people are really looking forward to is the bit that is the site establishment for the UVA, the bit to its east, which will become an urban beach and a park connecting the city centre. If I go back one slide, connecting what's called the Susser Gardens and the Kirkhall frontage right down to the waterfront. So all that's great. There's a piece of parallel work going on tonight, and I think it would be remiss of me not to mention the use of something called the place standard. So over the last 6 months in Dundee, we've consulted in excess of 6,500 people. And we've consulted them to try and get a profile of what they feel about their place. And this is one of a whole series of these spider diagrams. The diagram in itself is not that interesting because it's for the whole city. You get an averaging effect. I don't have time tonight, but what is really interesting is to contrast what people in Lochee, their spider diagram, looks like against Brockie Ferry, or their spider diagram looks like against the whole city. And it sends a very clear message to people like me, people who work in community development, people like Mike Galloway who works in planning and economic development, about what we have to do to engage people to tackle those issues. And what will not surprise you is that in Brockie Ferry, fairness and poverty don't show up as a great issue, but in Lockheed they absolutely do. So the polarity of difference is a perception index, but it does help, I think, focus the mind. What we plan to do with that in placemaking is to use it to produce the next round of local community plans in Dundee. They'll be produced between June and August this year. They'll be adopted by the new administration, which comes into place in June. And they will be the guide for the next 5 years about investment at locality level in placemaking. And go back to that one. So I'm just going to literally run over some images, and I hope that it will excite you about the journey we've been on. And that's how I would see it. I hope you experience it if you live in Dundee. Dundee has changed phenomenally in the years I've had the privilege of being here, and it's going to continue to accelerate in that change. One of the major milestones last year was its first public outing as the UK UNESCO City Design, and that was the first design festival, which was held in the Westport building up far from this building. It's going to happen again in May this year. It's going to be coinciding with the graduation week here. It was the first public expression, and we had something like 9 of the global UNESCO cities of design represented in Dundee. We have only begun to scratch the surface of what that network could bring to the city. We are really tasked to engage in that network. We're invited to every one of those cities. Anyone studying here, anyone practicing here, has a direct line into any one of those cities through people who are doing the kind of job that I'm doing. They're emailed at our office, and there's an invitation. And so we're invited to design festivals primarily, but also design biennales or to practice exchange meetings. And in some cases, the deal is that you get there and they will find your accommodation when you're there. It's a fantastic offer. The bid to become UNESCO City of Design came out of the current cultural strategy, and that strategy is available online. It talks about a number of things, but primarily it talks about trying to make the whole of Dundee a more cultural place by developing a music development strategy and by doing a whole variety of things to try and build on the way the place looks and feels. And that strategy came out of the City of Culture bid, the UK one, not the European one, which we took forward in 2013, which of course Hull won, and Hull is enjoying today. And that bid was built on the strength in this city of digital technology and the We Dundee campaign, which is still online. People who want to look at it is wedundee.com. And wedundee.com engaged literally thousands of people in an 80-word statement about what they loved about this place. We curated the UK bid of culture around the things that people loved most. So it was very, very citizen-curated bid, which was of course endorsed. And if you keep going back, the commitment that was taken at the same time as the UK City Culture bid was, there's no point in creating creative places without really investing in children. And one of the most impressive programs that the local authority has done over the last few years is a program called Aspire Dundee. That goes into the 30 poorest neighbourhoods into the primary school and gives the whole school, doesn't pick out individual kids from the class or individual classes from community. It picks out the whole school and it gives them a cultural boost, either in contemporary dance, in theatre, in classical music. And it's been running since 2013, and the results, which are actually evaluated by the University of Dundee, are showing really impressive lifts in self-confidence, an ability to articulate, an ability to participate, etc. Going back slightly further, the restoration of the McManus Galleries, I don't know how many of you have been into it, particularly for students and visitors, but I would commend it to you as a place which holds the social history of Dundee very well. Its restoration came about because it was falling down. It was built on a bog. That part of Dundee was made available at low cost to the local authority, a generous gesture by the private sector, because no one else wanted to develop it. So the building was actually built using pitch pine piles that went down into that bog and built the building. What happened was, as the water table dropped, first of all, the top few feet and then the top meters of the piles rotted, and there were holes big enough to push your fist through the building. So City Council faced a choice. Does it pull down an iconic building, Dundee's best loved public building, and build a new gallery, or does it restore it? And in 2005, the committee of the council agreed to invest in the restoration of this building. That's what it looked like inside. Every floor was dropped inside those walls. So when you go into that gallery today, when you think of the images of building the DNA today, this was no less technical and no less impressive a job to restore an old building than it has been to build a new building. And I don't have time to tell you some of the anecdotes and stories, but for those who are into concrete, it was another interesting concrete story. And that came out of a cultural strategy. These strategies, they've run, we're in the fifth, I think, or the fourth of these strategies, and each of them have set out milestones. In 2008-9, when the strategy was being written, the goal was to try and bring the V&A to Dundee. And people at that time said, it's a bit fanciful, you're a bit up yourselves. I don't think you're really going to get the V&A to relocate here. Here we are, 5 or 6 years later, it's happened. So the story is one, I think, of politicians having proportionate ambition and continuing to do that. Prior to that, we built the space, I don't know how many of you know that. Dundee is the home of Scottish School of Contemporary Dance in Dundee. Unfortunately, the buildings were at the north periphery, and it's not in the centre. But it's a fantastic resource to have indeed, a fantastic building indeed, and it could have contributed more to placemaking. A couple of years before that, the Dundee Contemporary Arts Centre, which I'm sure everyone has been in Dundee, and which was opened at the same time as we're celebrating our Jute heritage by converting the High Mill in Dundee. Many people date their generation story to the bringing back of Captain Scott's ship, the Discovery, in 1986, and a kind of metaphor that represented. Others, particularly people involved in journalism, culture, art and design, will remember Bob Pringlebury's work in the public art project. I see John over there, and those who brought public art, something like 220 pieces of public art now across the city. Fantastically rich public art legacy that is there to be discovered, and just some images from that public art story. So when you keep going back, if you ask people, well, when did Dundee's cultural regeneration start? For many people, it was public engagement in the arts. And the Dundee Rep Theatre in 1987 did this city-wide curated play on Witch's Blood. The witch Jessel Jaffrey was the last witch to be hanged in Dundee. And it was a story of the events that led up to that in this city. It was done by Dundee Rep in their new home here in 1976, but Dundee Rep coming to the city in something like 1936. The Mills Observatory, one of the few public observatories still in existence in the UK, which has created a different dimension to the city's culture. Again, like the Victoria and Albert Museum today, and like the Albert Institute and the McManus previously, built entirely by private money, by public legacy, if you like. It took 55 years from John Mill's legacy being given to the City Council being able to build this building. So what you have here is, it's not a quick process. It takes a long time. It took a long time to build the Kerry Hall as well, because the foundation stones were laid in 1914, and a war came along, and it took a long time to complete that building. So all I wanted to do is to take you back. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to take you right back. Maybe I should just pause on that one. Dundee, of course, has had an Albert and Victoria for a long time before it gets to Victoria and Albert. And so these galleries have been in the city for a very long time and are part of our DNA. The ambition of the Victorians for cultural placemaking, for investing in civic buildings for a generation, is incredible. The close dates that these buildings were built. 5 or 6 Carnegie libraries built completed within 5 or 6 years, and today they're still iconic A-listed buildings. I wanted to end with this image because my point is we've been at this a long time. I think this city has had phenomenal philanthropy invested in its regeneration. It's had people in it who've been really ambitious about civic pride, despite its grubby, working class, hands-on image of being a factory city. And of course the celebration, for those of you who weren't here last summer, One of the buildings when we were doing the public consultation on the City of Culture, that the people kept saying, we really regret the demise of the Royal Arch. Wouldn't it be fantastic to ever have kept it? The truth is it was probably falling down, it was pretty scatty, it was full of pigeons and not very pleasant. However, in the public folklore, the Royal Arch was something that people regretted its demise. So last year, an artist in Dundee, Claire Dowd, working with Pierre Rosted, a French artist, who does these fantastic cardboard towers, worked with about 3,000 people to reconstruct using digital technology to scan and reconstruct and get the pre-printed cardboard to put that up over a weekend, creating what was a startling image. How many people saw it? You'll hear what I'm talking about. A few, not enough. If you go online and Google Dundee's Royal Arch or People's Arch Dundee, you get this incredible time-lapse photography of that arch being created. And then it was pushed down 24 hours later. Pushed down, and we hope the memory was kind of exercised by kids trampling about the cardboard being recycled. So my simple point is, what we're doing today isn't new. But what we are doing is drawing inspiration from our own heritage, as we do from other European cities. And I'm going to get more about that in 2 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stuart. So, culture is not just part of the heritage and DNA, it's also part of the placemaking ambition for the future. And we're going to hear a little bit more about placemaking ambition within the context of this year's European City of Culture. Aarhus is an amazing place. Some of us in the room, hands up anybody who's been to Aarhus? Okay, well, if you haven't been, you really need to go. So remember, there are flyers outside for those who want to know more about September. But what we're now going to hear from Stephen Willisic, sorry, I'm now standing in the wrong place. We're now going to hear from Stephen Willisic, who is the city architect of Aarhus. As you'll detect from his accent, he's not Danish, although he's very fluent in Danish. Stephen is from Cumbria and studied at Oxford Brookes and Westminster universities, but has been practicing as an architect, teaching and lecturing as an architect before becoming city architect. He's an academician in the academy, one of our most effusive and progressive. And part of his progressive thinking and practice is in contemporary urbanism. And he's going to talk to us about how a city can be transformational. So please welcome Stephen Willisic from Aarhus.
Well, good afternoon everyone, good evening. Very nice to be here, very privileged to be invited to give this talk. I'm going to talk about placemaking, culture and design, not necessarily in that order, but there'll be a kind of a synergy between the three in different places within a city through different cases. This is an image from the opening evening we had on the 26th of January, down by the Hamfront, next to Dublin House Library. It was a big thing to become the European capital of culture. I just want to point out, this is just a Bible of all the activities we've been doing. It's like 70% of the things. You can have a look. You have? Well, I'll give it to someone else then. The point is, in our bid, was that it's not just Aarhus, it's 19 councils in the region of Middle and Jutland. So, I usually think in these terms, it's difficult enough doing it in one council, but you've got 19 to 5. It's been a bit of a process, but a very interesting one. I don't know if you know where Aarhus is. I just did this map just to help explain it. We've got the North Sea between us. Aarhus is between Glasgow and Dundee in terms of latitude. We have a lot in common. I've been at the architect school today, teaching and listening to the students' work, and it seems to me there's a lot of similarities between the two cities. I'd like to cover some of them. One of them is this beautiful nature, contact with nature. In Aarhus, we made some studies to find out what makes Aarhus good. 33% say it's because we've got this beautiful nature, this contact with nature. it's walkable, it's very accessible. Another 33% will say it's because of our education. We have 55,000 students in Aarhus. So we're the youngest demographic city in Denmark out of a population of 320,000. So similarly, if you compare the percentages, it's similar to Dundee too. I'll come on to the third in a minute, but the third, of course, is this idea, the whole thing about having a cultural backbone. Of course, our city is a Nordic city, but we have fantastic heritage. This is a few years ago where the parking space next to the cathedral was just recently transformed. Looking back, the city exploded in 1860 when we got the railway line. And at the time, around about 1900, the city itself had a major exhibition called the Landsutstelling. And it was at that time when Aarhus became the capital of Jutland. We've been competing with 3 or 4 other cities, but because of this exhibition, the whole of the mentality of Aarhus was transformed, and also on a national level. So we became a second largest city and most important city in Denmark. When I came to Denmark, Aarhus looked like this back in 1984, 1982. It was the remnants of the industrial society were still there, and the fact that we were a harbour city or a bay city is actually absolutely, there's no contact with water at all. So this was, we were in a state of transformation the last 35 years. It was just a traffic mess. Back in 2007, Aarhus looked like this from above. There's a container harbour out there. There's a brewery, freight yards, there's a lot of activities. But 10 years later, it looks like this. The container harbour, oh, is it the same picture? I've gone twice. It shouldn't be there. Is that the container harbour has been changed and the old harbour front is transformed. And we've got this. This is our version of your program, V&A building. This is our library, or people's building. And when you come to Aarhus, you have to visit this. It's very important. But other projects as well are on the way. This is designed by Big, out in our housing district, and that's on site at the moment. So even our housing projects have an iconic quality. And just in front of that are these small units which have actually been sold already for around £200,000 each. Ridiculous. But if you buy one of those, you are obliged to make 14 days of public-related activities there. You can't just use it as a residence. You have to actually make an exhibition or do some music or whatever. So this is the university campus. It's one of the most famous in the world. It's one of the most beautiful. It's designed by Sir Muller. And every year there's a party. 20,000 students meet up and get pissed. And they run around and swim across that lake. There's a competition between the different faculties. But I think it's on the top 15 list of campuses just because of its design. It's quite unique. And we've just recently opened the engineering faculty right on the harbour front. How do we do this? This is important. I know there's 20 councillors here today, but the important thing is that the governance factor becomes a very important driver for the way we think of our city. It's a social democrat city, but it's a proportional representation. We have 5 different aldermen and a town mayor, and they represent the different parties. But the point is, we've been able to carry on with the plans we've been working with for the last 35 years continuously. So building on the back of each other. That's my town mayor, Jakob Bunskov, who's just written this book. It's about the community and the way we can develop strategies where it's cooperation and participatory design at the leading edge in continuing to have a welfare society. It's very interesting reading. You'll be able to see this in the Here and Now magazine for the Academy of Urbanism. He's being interviewed tomorrow by a journalist for the the next issue. So it's worth a read, I think. We're also a business region. Instead of just thinking of ourselves as one city, we're 12 councils that work together, so we're 1 million people. So when we negotiate with the capital, the government, we actually have a power, not just on our own, but together. We invited this guy, Benjamin Barber, to us. He wrote a book called If Mayors Rule the World, and it's really interesting if you haven't read it. It's about this sort of process here we're talking about, because the idea of working with bottom up and top down, how do we make that work together? And we're looking at lots of different models about doing this. This is maybe a bit of a long startup, but the idea of working top down just doesn't work alone. We have to have community engagement and participation at the lowest level. And we also have to encourage people to do that. So we have to make a space in which this can happen. We're making a plan strategy at the moment, we do one every 4 years. And we have 4 different strands to work here. Talk about intelligent growth towards 2050. But the one that I find very interesting in City Architect is this one and this one here. It's all about placemaking, the idea of working together. But last year, 5,000 new inhabitants moved to Oaks. And that's been the trend for the last 10 years. Between 3,000, 4,000 and 5,000 people. So by 2050, we're going to be 450,000 people. And we have to plan for that. I won't go through that one. This is just a typical plan showing how the cities grow, and it's just going out, further out, out and out. And this illustration is a model which I'd like to compare Atlanta with Barcelona, if you haven't seen it. Exactly the same number of people living in each city at the same scale. One takes about 8 hours to drive across, and the other one takes 20 minutes, half an hour. So this is the model we're working towards. That red part of the map, that's because of this expansion in the 60s and 70s. This is the largest villa quarter in Denmark. It's in just on the outskirts of Aarhus. And we also have big areas of public housing. And I'll show some cases in these cases shortly. But this is where the whole city exploded in the different periods. Following out and out and out. And now we're talking about densification of the city. And that's causing concern for the citizens, and also for us as planners. How do we do that? And I think it's something you're addressing too in your city, and a lot of other cities around us, not just in Scotland, but in the rest of Europe. One of our strategies is to make a better infrastructural system. This summer we're opening the national's first light railway line, or tram system. It's 120 kilometres long, but we've built 12 new kilometres in the inner city. But our growth will happen along the stations, along the new railway system. It's not just going to carry on and on and on outwards, it's going to actually start the densification process around the stations. So that's our plan towards this. To try to reduce the need for cars, we're also working with a very, very advanced cycling plan. What type of city do we want to work with? We have different sustainability models. This is our 360 degrees model. But it's not a kind of ticket box green strategy, as you can see in this picture. It's also about linking in a holistic way all these different aspects. And we talk about livability more and more as one of the major paradigm changes within our society. It's the quality of aspects of urban living. And as part of that, we're building 1,600 public houses in the next 4 years. Made this guide, or a kind of quality guide for livability in these plans that we're working with. And it's just a kind of a conversation between different architects and different housing organisations with 10 different cases, but it's in Danish, I'm sorry, but it's talking about community, neighbourhoods, the quality of urban spaces, and the architecture and the idea of creating new identities when we make these new projects. So all these different points are qualitative layers. It's not tick box, it's another way of dealing with it. Where people are the first step. So what we're doing, as you see in the red, is a similar thought that Jan Gehl from Copenhagen works with, but we're designing the activities, thinking of the activities before we design the public spaces. And we're designing the public spaces before we design the buildings. For many years, it's been the other way around. And this is a major change for our city. For the last 5 years, I've been working as a city architect. This is one of the big moves for us. We have some good examples where we talked about transformation. The picture on the left is a space that connected the outer city to the inner harbour. We destroyed that by opening up the river again, and it's the best move we've ever done. It's actually become one of the most popular spaces in the whole of Aarhus. When we did it, it was incredibly unpopular. Everyone says the harbour will go bankrupt, all the shops will go bankrupt, and quite the opposite has happened. All the properties along the river here and all the areas along the river, their prices have grown, and there's a lot of people using these amenities. I reckon there's about 7 different spots along the riverfront, and it's one of those places we'll visit in the Congress at Academy of Urbanism. I identify these different uses because this small pocket here is just as valuable as this one. It's just a place to sit down and chill out in the sun, as this one is too, where we have a better contact with the river. Similarly here, the square in front of the old library has been transformed too. You can see the rainbow panorama on top of the Aros Art Museum in the background. The last section of the river has just been opened last year. It's whilst we opened this building, Dock 1, our new library or multifunctional public space. It's the hinge between the old historic city and the inner harbour. And here we're talking about a big roof space with 10,000 square metres of offices, covering a whole series of urban environments within the building. So the whole urban realm is linked all the way up through the building itself. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't have much time, but the whole idea is it's just second to none because there's over 1.3 million people visited it this year, first year of its opening, and it's free. We were nearly flooded in 2011 and 13, so our city moved very quickly to transform by lifting the level of the roads around this district, you can't see it, to 2.5 metres over the river, over the sea level. But we've also built in pumps for a sum of 60 million krona to pump 80,000 cubic centimetres of water a second. So when we're in the danger zone, we get the pumps running. And a whole series of blocks and what have you happen, change. So 4,000 people coming in daily. So culture is the dynamo. This idea of connectivity, we have a whole series of activities. We call it the banana. They're connecting now more and more to the sea because it's now more accessible, and returning up to the university. But when we do projects like Dock 1, this building here, it also has a meaning because we have the railway station here and the cathedral and the old heart. And this has just been a back and forth activity. There's 60,000 people going up and down here every day. But by doing this, we want to make a loop within the city. So we can do something like this. So the next project is going to be called the Pearl, a chain here. A series of buildings on the old railway station, bus station, right next to the railway station here. So this whole area is a traffic road with the bus station moving up here to the light railway line and the station. So this whole area is linked through in a new way. So we get a new flow as a new link is being planned down here too. What's interesting is that building there, the old bus workshops, has been taken over by something called Stone Street Foods. There's 5,000 people down there to eat every day. So there's a whole new movement happened, and this has just happened in the last year. And it was a bottom-up plan. It's nothing the city decided, some people had an idea. So it's this project here. So, culture as a driver. It's It's amazing what photographers can do, isn't it? It's also multimedia sometimes. We encourage artists to do projects along the sides. But the whole harbour front has been regenerated now, where the throws are making the last public space open at the stations, the railway line running across here. The engineering faculty is here and the top one is here. This whole area has been, all buildings have been removed. But we have a big play space on top of the first floor level of the dock one. And this has become one of the biggest hits in the city. It's a massive building. And without this, it would look even bigger. This play area is second to none. We've integrated art into the building underneath. There's a parking building for 1,000 parking spaces within the building itself, fully automatic. This piece of art is just hanging from the ceiling. And it was a dead space before. It's built in Denmark. A Danish and Norwegian artist are manufacturing a local company. But it's made a non-space to a positive space. So, when you Google Oars, you'll see this. This is one of the things that's put Oars on the map. We have this beautiful art museum, designed by Schmidt and Lassen, a company I was a partner with, where we did at University of Aberdeen New Library together, and this has been put on afterwards as a kind of the ring. And it's absolutely revolutionised this building. You walk around this building inside, you just can't believe it. The whole world is like psychedelic. It's like being on screen, I think. Most recently, this building's been completed. It's called the Norskov Museum. It's where we have our historical collection, positioned in the most beautiful Viking landscape, designed by Henning Lassen in Copenhagen. What the results of a competition? All these buildings are results of international competitions, and it's become an incredibly important place. There's also thousands of anthropology students ethnographists today and use this building too. So it's a partnership between the city and the university. And they don't have to be big projects. This is the latest one. It's the Botanical Garden, designed by St. Muller. This one too, the continuous wing. It was an art installation, and the citizens of also loved it so much they wanted to make it permanent. So we spent 2 years trying to get the money to do that, and we're in the throes of building that as we speak. And it's a very, very popular place, and lots of people get married there. Do you know who designed that? Frank Gehry. We have a Frank Gehry building in Aarhus, and it's like the Maggie Centre in Denmark. And it's just a transformation of an existing building. But small things can be done in different ways too. This is something that my previous city architect in Aarhus used to manage to get money towards. Right out on the harbour, where we have the old container harbour, this has been used as just a place to view the area. Nothing more, nothing less. But it's created a space on the harbour front that was nothing before. Tomorrow, a whole series of stamps are being launched as part of European Capital of Culture. And it's so fantastic for me. Unfortunately, I can't be there because I'm here. But it's great that architecture can be celebrated in this way, on a national level and an international level. I'm very proud. So here we have it, this reconnection of culture and the harbour. We're mutually dependent on each other. But what's very, very interesting is that we're punching way above our weight. We have, I think, cultural activities. I haven't even shown the old town, which is one of the biggest places to visit in Denmark. It's this ambition. This is James Tuaro, the famous light artist, who has the volcano up in Flagstaff, working with us on the next extension to ours, which is underground art installation. It's going to transform the whole of the public realm outside. But again, as my daughter in front of some sunglasses out on the harbour front, it doesn't have to be that big. But this health and well-being thing is important, also by using the harbour. We have so many societies down in the harbour area next to this, where it's been going for over 100 years. So we have local societies and associations. And this is just one of the new ones, these boards. And this one too, community gardening. Whilst the site has been waiting to be developed, there's a site that's been, I think, decided tomorrow evening in the council chamber which project to choose. But we've got 300 people working with gardening, and there's over 500 wanting to do it on a waiting list. So this idea of making community is just growing and bubbling in the old. As for example here, the old Fred Garden. I mean, we talk about top down and bottom up. We have these beautiful old buildings here, which have been transformed by the council to a cultural production centre. You've got workshops, you can go down there and make anything you want. All you have to do is pay for the materials. There's people who help you work in textiles, CNC cutting, pottery, glassworks, anything. You can do it in that building. We have public community spaces where you can actually have black box spaces and all sorts. You can get on the roof, and it's up there where you have, you know, that Titanic feeling. It's where you get your photographs taken there. But the interesting thing is, this area is part of a much bigger area we're working with. And this official part has to work together with this non-official part. This has become a destination on its own, these small startup businesses. And this whole area is owned by an Institute for X. And they're on temporary leases, the whole lot. And they've built this village. It's completely against every form of building regulations you can imagine. I walk by it like this. But it's become a very important part of the city. People are loving it, and the important thing is, how can we use that in the next part of the planning? So it's important this green area doesn't become too polished. Although, when that said, we also have to make money when we sell the sites around it. So these are some of the first projects. And this, last week, was the new architect school was unveiled. 3 young architects have only been practicing for a year and a half, won this competition. So there you go. It's possible for our young students. There was a big Vassal Sana and 2 other smaller offices competing with them, and they won this project. And I'm so happy for them, and it's going to fit into this neighbourhood brilliantly. I'll upload this one. So, the Orse Harbour District. It's not going to mean a lot to this, but Orse is double A. But 2 weeks before this sign was made, there was an A with a circle on top. And it's because of the internet. We thought it would be a good idea. But we made a new district called Orse Ooh. It's called Orse Island. And this is not an internet word by word. It's a kind of a standing joke for us. You know, we changed the name of the city 2 ways, and then we introduced this district, which is not, you can't put it onto the internet without studying. Since the last 30 years, we've been working on this harbour front. And I think it's really important to explain, it's gone through lots of different iterations, but we've been very faithful towards that plan. And it's very important we have a plan to work from, but we also have to have a plan which is agile and can be adjusted, I think, every 10 years. So we're rethinking things. But it's looking good. We're on the way. And when you see it from above, this is where big are working on their big housing scheme. But these are the projects. This area is built now. It's in the process of being built. Also nice. But one of the best amenity spaces we have is this new promenade, which is, we haven't had one of these before. And I think it's going to be one of the best destinations we have in the town. Now we talk about placemaking, the idea of public realm. This is one of our best spaces. And it's also designed in such a way that it can withstand a 100 years flooding storm. But this whole idea, this is a new way of living for us. We're talking about glass facades with no walls. And at the start, people say, no one's going to live there. We won't want to live there, it's too open. But in actual fact, these have become very interesting investment objects and popular places to live. As this project, the Iceberg project, when you Google those, you get this too. In 2013, this was acclaimed the best housing scheme in Europe or the world or something, I can't remember. MIPIM as a futures project, and it's actually become a very iconic element in homes. But when I talk about these projects, one of the first things I did when I became a city architect, I couldn't understand the scale of everything. It's so massive. Because when you have a container house, everything's just big. And when you start putting objects on it, you start suddenly realising what scale we're talking about. And this illustration is a plan of our plan on top of Ørsted in Copenhagen. And the similarities were quite interesting. So I carried on doing that by finding different spaces in Aarhus. This is the river I showed you earlier. Position on top of the plan at the same scale. This is the public square next to the cathedral, and this is a railway square in front of these buildings. When I showed these to our councillors, they got a shock. They didn't really understand. So it's really important when we design public spaces, people understand the use of them, because this is our front now. These are the public spaces we know. And if you add those up, they can all be on this new public space here. But there's no activities. It's an empty space. And all these spaces around these buildings, there are no activities, and there's no shops, there's no beaches. So I'm really concerned about how we're going to use them. I think we have to think about this more and more. So we did a rethink around Basin 7, out in the harbour. And, you know, the Archangel is just like a superhero now. Got 400 staff in their offices in Copenhagen, London, and New York, in the space of about 10 years. It's a phenomenon. And interestingly, I mean, I don't know anyone who can actually get our town mayor to move a date in his diary. It's only happening once, I think, and this is when Bjarke was visiting the city. So they're making this new harbour front, which becomes very iconic in terms of our city. One of the things about rethinking here was we're having difficulty encouraging people to come out to this area. There's no public activities. It's very difficult to encourage business to come out there because there isn't a critical mass of people there yet. So we said, right, if you want to build out here, you have to design 3,000 square metres of public-related activities. Then you can have a chance of building 20,000 square metres of housing. So they made this plan. Well, they integrated the beach bar here, and integrated a harbour swimming area, together with the theatre, cafes, restaurants, and so on and so forth. So they're the process of being built now, whilst they're planning these different buildings on the sides here. So this plan here was developed with Bjarke and Jan Gale. They were a consortium together with some developers who developed this strategy. And part of that strategy, and this is where it becomes really interesting for me, is that we asked them to readdress the scale issue. So you see those different colours. There are 3 spaces in Aarhus which they thought they could be relevant in terms of scale, scaling of the city, the district. And all these different themes were worked with as part of the inspirational process. So these images by Gabe, they're really, really important because they're taking on board all the microclimate problems we're dealing with. When you're out in that area, it blows like mad. It's out in the harbours front, so it's always blowing from the east or the west, sometimes from the north. But it's the funny thing is all the streets are aligned, so the wind can blow right through. When I said this to the architect who designed it, he said, well, they can stay inside, can't they? I go through these things quite quickly, but the point is, this urban realm, the edges, they're prioritised to encourage public activities. And if we get the microclimate right, people will want to stay there. And the scale of cost as well. These are the scale, the roof setbacks, the design of those, so we can have 2- or 3-story houses in some areas of the plan. The next project, which I'm very proud of, is called the Generation House, where we have 400 student homes, 400 family homes, 40 family homes, 24 handicap homes, 100 elderly people homes, and 100 serviced elderly homes, together with a kindergarten play school, all mixed together in one building. And they've scaled the building down. They've made these edges where we have colonnades around. This is a north-facing facade, but it's going to be a very nice amenity space. We're in the processes of making these terraced area down to the new canals we're building. This is a city initiative. It's a big investment, but when we sell the sites, it helps us finance these public projects. So this is going to be one of our best spaces down by the harbour, because we can actually come down and touch it. And it's going to be facing the sun in the afternoon. So I'd like to go on to something I'm very, very interested in. Working with the city as a laboratory. This space here is the space in front of the town, in front of the railway station. Normally it's just foot cars, parking spaces, taxis, and for 1 week we transformed it to a people-centric space. We removed all the cars and everything and transformed it. You could actually hear the birds for the first time ever. And birds actually started coming. And this pyramid of seating became a really, very interesting place. So, every year we have a party, almost a festival, in September. And we do one-to-one prototyping. This space, right in front of the cathedral, was transformed to a forest. And it completely revolutionised everyone's viewing of the city. It was discussed in the council chamber for weeks afterwards. We want that, we need to have that, we need to have something more greenery in the city. There's local landscape architects designed together with the festival week organisers, but we've never had so many people using that space. It was only there for 10 days. And the trees were planted elsewhere later. So I took the initiative to transform the space next to the cathedral, which is a parking area normally. Instead of doing drawings, just only work with models, and we made different scenarios for how the public space could be used. 12 months of the year, also in the winter. And I use this as a tool to talk to our council members and the technical committee. So I had 2 big meetings with them strategically. So that when it was presented for them, they said, yes, I'm going to do this. But they were part of that process. And the thing is, it cost 5 million kroner. If I was going to make that into a permanent space, it would cost roughly, I think, about 25 million. But we're doing it, so it's there for 5 years. And we can measure it and see how people think about it. And we can actually alter it if we want to. So it's become a very, very popular urban space. It's just built on top of the cobblestones. We've opened up the edge conditions around. So it's a totally green area. It's become very popular. We've even planted a tree, an oak tree, on the cathedral's grounds. Got special permission to do that. But these are just some images from different times of the year where people are using these spaces. It's become very popular. This year, during the European Capital of Culture, there's activities throughout the whole year. I'm quite proud of this one. But on the other scale of things, we mentioned the different polarity of the society. This is called, these are a lot of homeless people, also in homes. We've a large contingent of young people in Oars who are homeless or have difficulty existing. I made this project together with a group of people who are responsible for the Greenland community in Oars. They suffer from alcoholism, and we wanted to make some nice spaces for them. So we worked with a young architect company, and during the festival week, we made 3 of these, also with Oars Technical College, the joiners department, and we positioned them around the city. This one was for a group called House for Big. They sell a magazine every day to make a penny, and they could also make coffee and give it to the people going by. So all of a sudden they had a space in the city. It functioned very well. Also at night. The other one I positioned in the town hall park. And this became a music stage for these groups who were on the periphery of society. They were given the possibility of working with these. And another group who worked with making food from waste food put their tent up, and it was fantastic because the people who were coming to the festival activities were coming by and participating in these concerts. And this is one of my friends from that process. Some people say I'm actually starting to look like them more and more. But we've actually managed to find a new position for these in the town so they have a permanence. And they've become a place where, especially the Greenland community, are very happy to use. I'm very proud of this because I'm hoping that these small shelters can also become more permanent enclaves around the city, also in different parts of the city. So instead of removing them from the city, they're actually a welcome part of the city scenery. Yeah. So, 5 minutes left, I've been told. One of the important things we talk about when we're designing the cities is this thing about identity. And this is from a Jacques Tati film. You know, you go on holiday, where do you go? All the cities look the same, if you look closely. So I've been looking at these maps, the Columbia map, London after the war, about these districts and how we can make new identities when we talk about developing cities, districts. And even though people like Alison and Peter Smith and Team 10 and CIM worked with lots of these ideas, it didn't always work. This is Robin Hood Island. And we have these remnants all over our city. This is a district called Gellerup. It's regarded as the toughest ghetto in Denmark, with the largest number of problems. So it's the other side of the city, and we're working to transform it. So what type of city do you want to live in? And this is just morphological analysis through the years, and we're going towards this, where we talk about streets, edges, squares, which are readable spaces, because this is the Danish slide. We talk about the readable city, and as I've always said to the students, you know, how do you find out where to deliver your pizza? It's a lot easier here. It's difficult here. You know, it's finding out where you are. There's a lot of space left over, and we're suffering from these threshold areas. And I put these slides right up against each other. So what do you prefer? This or this? I think the majority want this. So we're taking this on board and taking it very seriously, because this district, we're investing over 2 billion krona in the transformation of it, for making it from a ghetto to an integrated part of the city. So this whole idea of participation, consultation, with all the different societies in the local community, we're taking on board and working very closely with them, and all age groups. This is an income level map of Aarhus. And that dark blue is Gellerup. This is all space. And interestingly, this is where we built the city in the 60s and 70s, and that's where we have the lowest income levels and the highest level of unemployment. The yellow bit here is yellow because it's full of students. Normally we have a slightly different colour, but it's interesting. So we're transforming, we're removing some of the blocks and replacing them with new mixed development. So we're building new, making the whole district accessible. We're building roads, developing the park so it becomes more accessible and safe. And we're making new districts. So that we're breaking down the scale of the whole area into small communities. So it becomes a tapestry of different communities within the one community. So these activities become an integrated part of the planning. So the grand opening, we had this fantastic level of activities, 80 different nationalities living here. We built this road, different communities. But when we do this planning, one of the big problems we're dealing with is age. Because 50% of the 7,000 people living there are under the age of 20. So the plans, they're 20 years. So they don't get any of it. So we've made something, and I'm going to go on quite quickly here, to something called Instant One. It's Instant City. So as part of the plan, we made a building, a whole series of buildings for the local community, which are built now. It's container architecture. And we made a whole, there's a competition, and we've made this. Young guys here, or some of our students down from the Gospey and the Freiland district, they've actually been employed there now to ensure that the bottom-up process becomes an integrated part of that planning. This is Rasmus took him to his final exam. Part of it, we've introduced this startup business area. And we're planning it as part of our strategy for the new building. We're building for 1,000 new employees for the council. And as part of the ground floor area, we're designing a startup business district. So the council becomes a startup area. We've got a cafe, social capital project, a coffee bistro, and everything going on in there. But the big thing here is we invested 6 million kronor in an artificial football pitch, and it's just become the biggest hit ever. It's a melting pot, and also at night. And we hope we're going to have someone like that coming through. So we're investing, the council investing 500 million kronor in this office building, this around the city. But it's a very important move forward, walking the talk. There'll be a new police station in this, and also the technical and environmental services based in it. And approximately we're building 400 student housing, and also integrated 70 apartments for doctors in the city. So this is the brain of the city, and I think it's really important because the success criteria for me is that when we did this building is that it mustn't have the feeling of being a headquarter building. Unfortunately, it's getting that way for a big multinational company. It mustn't be a new town hall either. It must become an integrated part of the city. So this whole of the ground floor area is accessible for the local population. The auditorium becomes a theatre or a cinema in the evenings. Here, this is a cafe area where there's going to be a place where the educator can be making coffee, beans, and the canteen becomes accessible also. So we're hopefully working with the local society to encourage them to make food for us. So finally, this summer in August, we're together with a group called Rethink Activism and Nordic City Network, which is the second cities of Scandinavia, together with the Academy of Urbanism, are taking over this city district. It's the Southern Slaughterhouse district, and we are given permission to actually transform the whole of this area, the buildings as well, into a small town within the town. And we're carrying out a series of workshops on all these different sites, which will be presented to the Academy of Urbanism and Nordic City Network groups. So there's going to be 10,000 people here over 3 days. And we're going to have over 250 people working in these workshops. So we're talking about rethinking bottom-up techniques in terms of urban design, and we're working on different things For example, in the town hall, which is the building we run, Jacob will be participating in one of the workshops. My older man, Christian Woods, will also be participating in, not all the time, but working with us on different projects. And the social older man will also be working with this group of people who are homeless and selling those newspapers. So these people here are really organising it, the Rethink Activism, and they're the group who are working with me very closely. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in Knowles from the 14th to the 17th of September this year. So welcome to you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Would you like to take a seat there? We'll take some questions. So I hope that you got some sense of inspiration from that. An inspiration from the possibilities, and also that we are genuinely witnessing a whole new culture of urbanism. Themes that they're getting, remember, are leadership, of the culture of leaders and the philosophy of leaders, on innovation and transformation. Themes around people first, particularly in public spaces, and then what follows them in terms of buildings and structures. But also the role, and continuing on from the excellent Dundee presentation that's journey of culture as a driver of change, even change in the production of car parks. Remember those beautiful tower blocks that are hanging in the car park roof. And that final session and theme there on the city as a laboratory, with the prototyping of temporary elements that can become fixed elements or change into something completely different. So lots of food for thought. We're going to take 10 minutes of questions and we can continue discussing over drinks in the lobby. When you ask a question or make a comment, you've got 60 seconds, just to be fair to everyone else, so we don't want any soliloquy particularly. But if you've got a question, ask who it's directed to after you've said who you are. So can we open out for questions or observations, please? Silence. How many want to come to Aarhus now? There are places, not only places at the Congress, there will be places at that activism, we think activism event for young urbanists. So there are going to be places at that, and we'll say more about that later. So, yes, there was a question.
Thank you. So, I was born in Dundee. I live in Canada.
Where in Canada?
Toronto. And I'm a PhD student at the University of Birmingham in Culture and Urban Studies. So, my question is mostly for Stuart. So, one of the issues you referenced early on was the problem of income disparity in Dundee. And the fact that in Dundee, some of the poorest neighborhoods in all of Scotland are in Dundee. I think second only to Glasgow in terms of deprivation. So my question is around the notion of inclusive growth and how will a culture-led regeneration contribute to the economic and social well-being and address issues of exclusion and income disparity that are a big problem, have been for a long time in Dundee. And in terms of inclusive growth, it's not just about who benefits, because trickle-down doesn't work, but it's about who participates as well. So I guess my question is, how are you going to make that happen?
Well, you're right to point it out. I mean, people will know the statistics. 1/3 of the population of the city are the poorest 15% in the whole of Scotland. And for neighbouring cities or neighbouring authorities, I think for Perth and Ross it's something in the region of 7%. For Angus it's maybe about the same. So we're talking about really massive disparities across the city region and within the city. The question that you then addressed with an event, if that's what it is, like bidding for European Capital of Culture or building like the V&A, that is an event within a city's life. And it's a strategy as we used in the 70s for building advanced factory units. If you drive around the north of Dundee, or if you come into Dundee from the west, you'll see a whole litany of well-intended advanced factory units based on the building, based on the premise that build it and they will come, and they didn't. So for a period of time, we invested public money in building, and we invested public money in subsidising the attraction of multinational companies to Dundee. They came for a period and they went. And so our strategy today is different. We're not building advanced factory units. We're trying to invest in people who are creative and who are engaged and who want to live in an urban environment, an inner city environment. I didn't talk very much about it, but for me, one of the most interesting cities, best projects in Dundee, and we take inspiration absolutely from the Bahnhof project in Aarhus, is the West Ward building, where we have the design festival. The intention is to turn that into what would be the largest maker space, creative owned space, a collective space, whether it be a cafe, the same type of opportunities that were described in Aarhus. Now that's an aspiration that's going to take people getting behind it to deliver it. But at the moment, the owner of the building, which is DC Thompson, the City Council, which is a development agency in that sense, Scottish Enterprise, are all wanting that type of traction to happen as part of the City Deal programme for Dundee. So the answer to your question is there's lots of different strategies. It's not a single strategy, but actually investing in creative spaces, I believe, is as productive today and perhaps more productive in the long term than building advanced factory units as we did in the 60s and 70s and hoping that people in a global sense will locate here and create low-cost jobs for people. It didn't work. It's not a great strategy.
So there are more elements to it than just that component. Some other comments or themes or questions?
Thank you. I wonder what advice you would offer us in the university in making urbanism something that should be of interest to all of the academic faculties and not just the more traditional...
I'm not a politician. No, I'll switch it on again. That's an interesting question because how many students have you in Dundee? It's like 15,000? 18?
Well, in Dundee is probably, if you take the other institutions,
yeah.
27, 28,000.
It's a massive group of people, and there's probably about 2,000, 3,000 staff. So obviously it's an important thing in terms of making a good working environment. You have this, you think of urbanism into your faculties and your campus. I was in the Matthew building today. I can see that's just been revamped, and it seems to work very well. But there's also this building itself here is second to none in terms of its appearance. But it's difficult with all these different levels within the city to find out, you know, where to go. I'm not familiar with the city's morphology and the landscaping, but it can be difficult to find out where to go in terms of traffic circulation. I must admit, the faculties seem to be quite close to each other, right? So you have an opportunity with this dynamic nature of the community to make something quite stunning between each other, and not necessarily just competing with each other. So there's, the faculty could actually have a lot more interface with each other in the urban realm as well.
I should point out that if you didn't pick up earlier, Stephen was involved in the design of the library at Aberdeen University, which got awards and recognition, as I recall, through, it was the Scottish Planning Awards, wasn't it? It won top award in that. So there are lots of possibilities there. The issue of streetscape, I want to ask, in terms of anyone who moved here to Dundee, hands up anyone who found it slightly difficult to navigate your way around when you first came. Okay? Anyone who found it easy enough?
Not easy.
So slightly more on the difficult side. Okay. So these legibility themes are quite important and it can be part of the rethinking and the retrofitting. Catherine?
Cat Franson, just visiting from Southwest Wales. I wanted to ask you about the meanwhile uses that have been really popular, how you've managed to deal with that popularity in terms of maybe moving aside on finding somewhere else for that opportunity.
Yeah. Well, if you start with the gardening, the two proposals which we've been competing for that site, they are all integrating into their designs. It'll be in a new way, but it becomes an integrated part of the public domain. And I'm not sure if it's a fad, it's going to stay forever. But the nice thing is each winter we pack the things down and it's because you can't do the gardening, so it's a different space. But they're really integrated. Now the other ones down on the old freight yard, that's a whole different kettle of fish. Because they are small, there's like 60 startup businesses down there. They're paying tax and all sorts. And they have to we'd like to keep them there. It's the same with the slaughterhouse district. How can we integrate them into the community? Because they're actually there in the weekends and the evenings when everyone's gone home from work, or people are hopefully moving in to live down there. So how can they stay there and creep into the public realm when we plan the public realm? Because when I'm talking of identity, it mustn't be a new identity like Ireland, I showed earlier. It must have its own identity, and we're looking for that all the time. And I think the people who are actually there, they can help us create that and make sure that the identity continues in a new form. So we're actually making small offices in those districts where the council are paying a nominal amount of money to enable a dialogue. Full time, people working with this, so it becomes integrated into the planning.
So
I'm very aware of gentrification and the dilemma here.
So it's not simply about the use of the temporary use, it's working with the people and involving it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So I've got one more, which I think that Sam's got. Someone. He's got you.
Yes, it's really a question for Stuart Murdoch. I was quite touched by one of the very first things you said about, actually it's probably one of the last things, about how investment is always in the center of the city and it simply doesn't touch all the people, all the outliners. And surely, or in the long run, I would have thought the strategy would be to bring all of the people living very, very far away from the centers of investment much closer into those centers by building housing, densifying the city with housing. And so I mean, that's obviously not something that one solves overnight, but I would have thought that in the long run that would be what we do.
Just a brief comment on it. I mean, I know that I have not done justice to the efforts that have been made in the periphery. So for people who know the Ardmore village in the northwest of Dundee, I think there's a very good example of slow regeneration of an urban area, removal of high-rise, and the creation of a garden village in the periphery of the city. It's a great example. And you're right, I mean, the strategy that Mike and colleagues are following for the inner city is to have that mixed usage, to increase the density of population living there. But I think, for me, we are a long way in our thinking behind what we've heard from Denmark and what we've seen in some of the Nordic countries. We have a very strong tradition of community development and community activism in Dundee. We don't have a strong tradition of using those active, committed citizens to actually inform urban design. We have a separation. And if we don't learn from the better examples in the Nordics, we'll come to regret it, I believe.
I think on that note, I'm going to allow Ian Gilzine closing. This isn't a hospital passing.
No, it's just a question for Stephen. It was just Ian Gilzine, Chief Architect of Scottish Government, so I was very interested in how you operate in terms of initiating projects yourself or working, with a political framework, and how much freedom I suppose you've got to try and make things happen, or kind of work with the kind of wider planning agenda in the city? It seems like we've got, you know, a range of different approaches there, initiatives from strategies.
It's a good question. I've been doing it for the last 5 years, and I think I'm getting quite good at it now. It's only a 5-year contract, maybe with a possibility of carrying on. But the interesting thing is, I don't have any staff. I work for the whole of the council, with all the different aldermen and all the different departments. It can be, you can see it's the homeless, it can be prestigious cultural projects, like the Cultural Project 2017, and it can be community housing projects, and also the small bottom up projects in the city. So I'm spending quite a lot, and they call me the free bird, so I can actually go around and do things if I want, and I can also occasionally disagree. I can use that card once in a while. I can't do it all the time. But it's important that there's a freedom to do things. But because everything's happening so quickly, I'm also spending a lot of time working with the planning department and the building control department. Because we're doing planning laws, and when they're building them, there's a disconnection somewhere. So I'm trying to get this to work much more together, so the local plans become more usable as a document for the building control plan. It's a slightly different planning system we have, but I'm trying to make it more focused, so we know what each project's qualities are, because I'm also trying to teach the staff in terms of architectural quality and urban quality. So I have workshops with them, like pin-ups in the studio, where they present the projects they're working with, and I help them make strategies for it. So in a way I'm working in the different departments, but I don't have all the hassle of human resources. So I can go in and go out. And they can take it or leave it. But I'm actually I've been doing it for a while now. There's a question of trust. So the council is there for 4 years. There's a new election just in a while. So my alderman have been working for 4 years. So we have a mutual trust now. He actually believes in what I'm doing, and also that I have his support. And that just is so damn important. Some kind of clout. And the developers know that now. So the developers are having to listen, and the architects too. So it's an interesting world compared to many other cities. I don't have the power of people, but I have another kind of power, which is influence, yeah, which is interesting.
So that's excellent, because that kind of question takes us all the way back where we started, with leadership and involvement, and a critical element of that is trust. And it's something that's coming through all the research the Scottish Government has been doing on things like the planning system and design. So a free bird influencing quality at different places. I think we've had an excellent set of presentations. We can continue the discussion next door in a moment, but I hope you've got a lot of positive themes and inspiration. And I think this issue of inclusion that we started off with, this issue, how do we take, as both cities are looking at, how do we take this issue, the challenge of culture and the positive elements that it brings, how do we help make that available to bring benefits to the whole sections of community, wherever they are geographically? So that's a big theme, and I know if you want to come to Orcus, that's a big part of the research on the activism in the meat slaughterhouse district. That's something that's been positively explored there, as you saw with some of the people who have dependency problems and so on. Thanks very much to everybody. I'm going to hand over to Sam now to do closing remarks and vote of thanks.
Just briefly, thank you very much for our speakers once again. Thanks very much for the audience, and I would like to thank all those who support the event in the university, within the school, with the School of Nursing, School of even Humanities. Also, without the support of the Academy of Urbanism, that wouldn't happen, as I said earlier. But also, thanks for our sponsors. Just not to forget the Erasmus Plus program for supporting the speaker from Denmark. but also for Morgan Sandal and our chapter, East Scotland RTBI, for sponsoring the drink receptions outside. Once again, thanks very much for your time, and if there is any comments or feedback, please get in touch. Thank you.